Ready to go. Your show.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Reminder to everyone that the meeting is being digitally recorded. So Brian, you want to read the virtual meeting information?
Sure, I can handle that for you. Okay, this announcement is pretty standard now, but required still. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Hubbardston Board of Selectmen will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and/or the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via Zoom. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website a comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Okay. Do we have anybody for open session? Any indication?
There is no indication. If anyone's here for open session, please virtually raise your hand or type in the chat box what you are here to speak about. If you are here for an agenda item, we will get to it expeditiously.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to the announcements. Okay.
Yeah.
So Katie, I figured we'd start with you. First
All right.
two are yours.
Okay, so yeah, so we have the Dinghy Dash on August 29th at 10 a.m. Barring like for thunderstorms or, you know, downpours. That would be the Sunday, the 30th, but usually it's pretty good. And we're doing the Dinghy Dash. So everyone gets started on making cardboard boats. I'm finalizing up the sponsors now, and the flags will be up hopefully within the next week or so. So I'm just waiting to hear back from a few people. So yeah, the forms are on the town website. If you'd like to enter, all the rules are on there. If you have any questions, you can always email me, or I can email you a form directly. But it's usually a really good time. It's a couple hours outside. It's one of those things you can't miss it. It's a fun day. And then the one I have next is Field Day, which is normally the Lions event, but this year they have decided they don't want to pursue that. So I told them I would take it for this year, and they will take it back gladly next year. But this year we're going to do the same kind of thing, just like the fair. It's going to be outside, kind of low key, but it'll be fun. It'll be a good day to get out. I already have the band lined up. I got a bunch of food waiting for the stuff to come in, but already they said that they'd be there. And we have a bunch of vendors to sell things and some displays and stuff, but no real hands-on kind of stuff. But again, it will be a good day and fun. Everyone bring their camp chair and picnic blanket, and you can sit and chill and listen to the music and get something to eat, and maybe find some crafts or some artist stuff that you never knew you needed, you know? So yeah, it'll be a good day. And that's on September 19th with a rain date of the 20th from 9 to 3. And that's all I got.
Okay. September 19th, and rain date was what?
The 20th.
Okay. I have a question for you for the Dinghy Dash.
Yes.
In case some people who might be watching are thinking about this, are there any special limitations due to the COVID situation as far as how it will be handled, or what they should be prepared to have to be able to do if they're going to participate?
No, it's basically most of the dinghies that have been made were done by family groups. I can't see there being too much, you know, like it. You need to know the people that are in your boat. Obviously, you're building a boat together. So most of the boats were single dinghies. So it's a.
Excuse me, sorry, but does that mean no masks for those who are in the boats?
That's going to be, if you're family members, you're not going to need to, because you're going to be in your own boat. You're your own bubble. You know what I mean? Once you get away from other people, like when you're in your house, you don't wear a mask, right? With your children, it's the same kind of thing. It's your own personal bubble of people.
So if there's anyone who isn't, that's these people
Well,
are pretty much
I-
an honor system, honor
Yeah,
themselves, right?
yeah, that's on them. I can't tell people who or who not to be, but every year so far, it's always been family, like a father and son or something like that, or, mom and daughter, or, whatever, vice versa, the kids all together, the three siblings. So
Okay.
there has been,
All right, I just noticed that Ed Blanchard chatted in a question about field day. He's concerned whether we should actually have it with the 10-person limitation as far as in a group area.
it's the same thing as the fair. So
Well, I can speak to that since the board hasn't weighed in on this as a group. This is the purview of the Board of Health, so it would go to the Board of Health first for their consideration and regulation, and then if the Board of Selectmen had any concerns, they would either meet in joint with the Board of Health or go to the Board of Health meeting, I guess. So it's certainly in the purview of the board to weigh in on the discussion, but regulated by the Board of Health.
which I've already been to the Board of Health for both events. And they have given me their permission obviously with the, rules and guidance in place. Field day is going to be very much similar to the fair that we just did. And they were very happy with the way that I did the fair. There was so much space for people. There was no way that people were gonna, if you were congregating, that was on you specifically. They had nothing to do with anything that we did. If people were congregating, which they weren't, but if there was a group of people, it was like a family group. It wasn't because of lack of space or any kind of confinement or anything like that.
Sounds good.
So.
And did we do the library 5K?
I'm just going to put this up here. So just to explain for folks who've been asking, the Library 5K, which is a highly attended and fun and important event to support the library, this year will be held virtually. What that means is anyone can submit their course number or their course time self-timed for consideration in terms of the actual competition. We encourage everyone to donate to the Library 5K as they normally would support our great library. And the actual course itself will be marked off. It has been marked off by Mark Wigler, so I will be participating in this and using the actual course and pretending that everyone normally there would be cheering for me, but everybody can do that themselves and turn in the time. So please consider doing the 5K virtually this year, self-paced. All the awards and t-shirts and normal stuff that we get will be part of it. The actual race needs to be done or completed by noon on Saturday, September 12th. So you have plenty of time. And we will continue to put this out on social media.
Sounds good. Any comments from anyone on the board in regards to that or anything? Okay, we're going to jump ahead. We have the part-time police officer, Michael R. Pierce, and Sergeant Kuchar waiting for his, so we can make the appointment for Mr. Pierce. So we're going to go right to that now since they are here. Okay, they're about to join us. So.
Okay, Mike, Sergeant Kuchar, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, they're just joining us by voice or?
Yeah, if you can join us by video, that'd be great. If not, let me know.
Okay. Kuchar, how you doing?
I'm just trying to find the video.
You're on mute.
Sergeant Kuchar, you're on mute.
What do you say?
We're just going to give it a minute to solve the technical difficulties.
All
There
right.
we go.
Okay. This is, okay, we have Michael Pierce.
So
Yes.
as is our normal practice, just wanted to bring a new appointment in front of the Board of Selectmen. So Mike Pierce is appointed as one of our part-time police officers, comes with experience serving as an officer in Templeton an extensive amount of experience serving as a corrections officer, highly recommended by all his contacts. And of course, our officers got a chance to meet with him, ask him questions to identify fit, and I was able to meet him. The only thing I could find wrong with him is he prefers the Marines instead of the Army, but we will overlook that. Sergeant Kuchar, Mike, do you have anything to add?
I just want to say that we did a extensive search. We had several applicants, over 20 that applied for the reserve position. And I feel that he can be the best fit for the team here and others. And we like his police style. He's very community oriented. So we're happy to have him.
All right, so I guess, to the board members, we will need a motion to accept the appointment and waiving the notification period. So Katie or Pat, can you make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to appoint Michael Pierce, waiving the notification period.
And I'll,
As part-time police officer, or to be specific? Can you
Yes,
add that to your motion?
as part-time police officer.
Katie?
And I'll- yeah.
Any discussion? Okay, well, all in favor, Pat,
Yes.
Katie,
yes.
and me, yes. Welcome aboard.
Mike, any words for us?
I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. Look forward to meeting you guys in person. And I'm just a guy that likes to talk to the community. I get out and stop when people are mowing their lawns and talk to them. And I have extensive crisis negotiation skills. And I think that talking to people resolves a lot of issues without having to arrest. So I think that mutual respect is a big thing. And I'm looking forward to joining your team.
We appreciate it very much and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike. Sergeant Kuchar, appreciate it.
Thanks, Sergeant Kuchar. Okay, now we'll go back to presentations.
Okay, I have a brief presentation for you today on some of our continuing economic development efforts. We have some discussion, so I will keep it brief. Just going to share my screen with you. So on the town of Hubbardston website, we have finally consolidated some of the efforts we've been working on for the last year. And you'll notice some of them from previous presentations. So on the town website, as you scroll down here, we have our three main blocks. So our town center project, which is certainly a crux of our infrastructure plan that's scheduled for 2022. We have this center block, Visit Hubbardston. This is our attempt to increase the visibility of our town and get folks to take advantage of everything that makes Hubbardston great. And then our special events, which draw families and visitors to Hubbardston because of the uniqueness of our events. So if you click now on the Visit Hubbardston website, you will land on a new Visit Hubbardston landing page that's going to highlight some of our main efforts and some of our best practices. So the town events link will send you right to our town events calendar, which the Economic Development Committee is working to stipend a person to make sure that these events are robust and that folks have a chance to send their events to us so we can capture all the events that are going around town. This will link directly to our town calendar. The outdoor recreation goes to the map created by one of our local Girl Scouts, daughter of Katie Young. These sites show every outdoor open recreation space in Hubbardston, and we'll be working with the EDC to make them even more robust. So add pictures where necessary, links, and information about different things you can do and visit in Hubbardston for recreation purposes. Then our monuments and historic sites, again, created by a scout, Eric Cavello. So these are our monuments in various local historical reference points that people come to see or know about. So we will continue to work with our Historical Society and Historical Commission and residents to update these and make sure we've captured all of our monuments so people can come and see what made Hubbardston special in the past. And then local businesses. So this connects to the Quabbin Country platform, which is our 5 Quabbin Country towns, a database of restaurants, things to do. We're going to be working on this site to make it even more user-friendly and robust to allow local businesses to add their information to it and make sure that folks that are visiting the area can find places to stay, to eat, and things to do in each one of the communities. By creating Quabbin as a destination, that'll certainly help Hubbardston in terms of growth and economic development. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, our special events. So we get a lot of people who come to town for things like Field Day and the Hubbardston Fair, our Light Fight, and the Dinghy Dash. So we want to make sure those continue to be highlighted, so they will be a focus of our economic development plan and our Visit Hubbardston efforts. So I just wanted to show the board we're continuing to work on that. We are very much trying to consolidate all the information in order to make our town more attractive to visitors, to businesses, and of course our residents. So this is the Visit Hubbardston site. We'll be promoting it heavily and building out the content for it so it becomes useful to anyone who wants to use it.
It's great. It really looks good. Pat, I got your note. Do you still have bad connection?
It's better now.
Okay, keep us posted if you're not getting it, okay?
Will do.
Okay, move to new business, the COVID-19 update.
Okay, this will be quick, but important. So continuing to update the town on COVID-19, we will be reopening our senior center. And for those who want to know what that is, what we'll really be doing is providing socially distanced services, enhanced services to our seniors. In speaking to local communities, other council on agings, state officials, and experts, although we need to make sure that we protect our vulnerable population, we also need to make sure we provide services in order to get seniors out of their homes, keep them active, and keep them mentally healthy. So we've come up with a plan and vetted it with the Board of Health and other agencies to place a tent at the Slade building to provide some outdoor services to include continuing the walking club, some coffee hours, and some socially distanced bingo. So these services will be limited to pre-registered folks in gatherings of less than 10, but we can hold a bunch of them in order for people to make sure that they get a chance to come. So there'll be a ton of restrictions on it. There will not be large gatherings. Everything will be heavily regulated in terms of mask wearing and all the things people are used to. But we're pretty proud of the Council on Aging's efforts to be creative with their social services and to offer this to our senior population.
Ryan,
So that's coming.
I'm sorry, where exactly will be the tent?
So for folks who are used to going to vote in the side of the Hubbardston Center School, there's a parking lot there. We're going to put the tent there for a little bit, test it out. It'll be adjacent to the Council on Aging to provide restroom services or AC breaks for folks who need it, and also continue to take advantage of the kitchen and other senior center activities so we can provide as much service as possible. The Board of Health had a ton of questions about this. The Council on Aging answered all of them. We feel pretty comfortable with the plan. And we know, like everything else, if there's any change in the COVID environment or situation, we can snap back to a more restrictive measure. But we want to do everything we can to provide the services that are necessary.
Sounds good.
Okay, next on the update is the library. Just calling up their website here. So right now they are offering curbside services for those who enjoy our library. Those curbside services are on Mondays and Thursdays. Starting on August 4th, so tomorrow, Tuesday, August 4th, they will be opening in small groups to patrons on Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So there'll still be no more in-house programming. The number of guests will be heavily limited. People will be following all the social distancing rules that we are used to, but folks can come use the library, and this has been a request in person as long as these rules are followed. Some of the services that people do come to the library for are faxing, copying, and other things that people can't do in their homes. So those will be available. The staff will help facilitate that. There again, there'll be a lot of rules on it, but we are moving from virtual story time to our now curbside service, and starting tomorrow, some in-person service as well. So we're continuing to open up all of our public spaces and services in a responsible manner, but also allowing for those services to continue. Then continuing with the update, continued safety measures. I have nothing really new to report here. I'm just keeping that in the agenda, but we are continuing to make sure that all of our services are provided safely. And then lastly, the schools. So we're getting a lot of questions about the schools. The school reopening plan comes under the purview of the school committees and the state. So while we are working with our school leaders to support their efforts, both financially and in whatever ways we can, those decisions are going to be made this week for Monty and for Quabbin Regional School District. I highly encourage people to attend those school committee meetings and to send their questions and concerns about reopening plans to those school leaders. One spot you can find it, I'll pop it up on the screen here. The recently released Quabbin Regional School District reopening plan. So if you go to the Quabbin website, which is qrsd.org, right on their homepage, it says, "Welcome to the Quabbin Regional School District." If you click on the school reopening plan, there's an entire website devoted to that plan so people can start to understand it. It's going to be a ton of information coming out about this in the coming days. I have been in contact with both superintendents to try and get information to you and invite them to come and speak to you if possible about what the reopening plans are going to look like in the communities. It affects the students, the parents, but also the community as a whole. So it's important. And that is my COVID-19 update, pending any questions.
Any questions from the board? Anything? No? Oh, okay, thank you, Ryan. We'll go to 4B, the rec field gazebo and dedication. This has to do with the bench and the bandstand, correct?
Yes, I'm just inviting in Sandra Berry and Ed Blanchard from the Lions Club. Sandra's hiding from us, but I will find her. There she is.
Good
Don't
evening,
see
Ed.
anyone else.
Good evening, Sandra.
If anyone else is here for this agenda item, please let me know. So Ed and Sandra, you're with us if you want to lead off this discussion.
Ed, you're on mute right now.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
The Lions Club at their last meeting talked a lot about Dave Tatton and how he has been he's been in town 50 years, and I think 40 of those as a Lions member. And, you know, he's done significant amount of work for the Lions over those 40 years and extremely generous of his time in that. Specifically, though, he was the engineer and also the main construction guy on building the bandstand. And because of that, the Lions Club took a vote that we would try and talk to the select board and see if they would consider naming the bandstand the F. David Tatton Memorial Bandstand. And we could do this, whatever signage was appropriate, you know, we could work with someone on, but first of all, it would take a vote that, you know, we wanted to do this. Second request is, there's a bench now that sits at the bandstand, and it's a granite bench, and it was for Louis Richards, who had similar amount of service as Dave Tatton. The Lions Club at their cost would, oh, thank you, whoever put that up. Who slid that in? I had that, I had one of those myself, but I didn't know how to get it on. But
It was me, Ed. I got you.
Thank you. You're great. This is basically, we would be duplicating this. And we would be placing it either close by this one, or the walkway is over to the left of the 1930. And we might put it on the other side of the walkway so that it would balance out Louis Richards' bench. The Lions Club would be installing the base, and I've gotten some quotes on what the Lions Club would pay for having the bench gotten up in Barry, Vermont, and sent down here. I might have to go pick it up myself to save some money. But anyways, the bench would look like that. Also, any cost of signage to the bandstand would be borne by the Hubbardston Lions Club. So basically, both of these requests would not cost the town anything financially, and I think would really be a nice dedication to someone who gave a lot of hay rides to a lot of people on field day. And every year we'd bring up field day, we'd say, well, he hasn't run over anybody yet. And now he's not going to be able to run over anybody yet, unfortunately. But he always did it with a smile. And there's not many people in town that can probably have anything bad to say about Dave Tatton, because I never heard him say anything bad about anyone else. And I never heard him swear the F word in 50 years of knowing him. He was a pillar of the community, and I think this would be extremely appropriate if we could memorialize the bandstand to him.
Sandra, are you saying something?
No, sorry, my home phone was ringing.
Okay.
I actually think it's a great idea, Ed, and I'm sure everyone in town would be completely behind it.
I also agree. I think it's a great idea. I think we should move forward with this.
I'm with you on that. I think it's very fitting.
All right, so you want me to make a motion then? Do we need a motion on this, right?
I would make a motion to recommend or support this effort and to engage me with the Lions Club to make it happen.
All right, then I'll make a motion just for that, to recommend this happens and to engage with Brian to make sure that it all gets wrapped up nicely.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Okay, any discussion?
I have a discussion, but not about that. Ed, I'm sure if the parks, if you wanted to look for donations, I'm sure the parks would make some sort of donation for that as well.
The donations that came in terms of Dave Tatton's name would be the funds that would be used for supporting the cost of the bench and the signage.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. You guys got some donations. I had one more question. The Louis Richard bench, didn't that get damaged? I'm just asking, didn't it get damaged at the Katie's?
It got knocked over by the band, but DPW went and picked it up and it was totally fine. They put it literally got pushed over by one of the band guys and nothing damaged it though.
So the seat part didn't come apart from the stand part of it, because that could be a dangerous situation if that flipped over. That's my only concern.
Yeah, no, I'm not totally sure how the I think they put not glued it, but whatever, they sealed it back together. I'd have to double check with Travis, but Travis said it was all set.
Okay, I mean, it looked good. I just wanted to make sure it was still safe, that's all.
Yeah, that would be you put like this, I don't know, glue or something on it. It's not regular, it's not like Elmer's glue or anything. It's some kind of granite glue or something to put it back.
On the new one, I do a lot of granite work with the Livingstone Foundation in Leominster. And what we could do on the new one is we will pin the top and the two posts that hold it. We will pin those and put a pin in those, and then we epoxy them so that the bench becomes whole as one. And even as we pour the base, we could put a re-rod or something. Actually, we use basalite, I think. But we could put a pin there that would mean that the bench would not move any more from the base we put it on.
Oh, no, okay, that's great. I was just trying to check on that other one because I knew something had happened to it a couple months back.
Yeah, well, I think, you know,
That sounds great.
safety's always an issue when you've got a lot of people around the bandstand and that. So I can also, when I'm up there, if I can still lift the one end of the bench, I'll see if that's been pinned or glued. And if it hasn't, we'll probably, we would do that one at the same time.
Oh, great, thank you.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, Katie,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
and me, yes. Thank you very much, Ed, we appreciate that.
Well, thank you all. The Lions Club appreciates it so much, and I'll be pleased to report your favorable approval. And Ryan, I can work with you on the signage if the board so wishes, so that we can make sure it's done appropriately and the town is fine with it. You know, it's not like we're going to put up a 50 by 100 sign that says Dave Tatton, but we'll bring to you a proposal on the signage, and you can give it your yay or nay.
Let's call it a tasteful sign. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Ed.
Have fun.
Okay, move on.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, we have Sarah and Steve here for what I think would be a quick item, if we can.
Oh, the Vietnam, sure. Okay, let's jump down to then, that's D, Veteran Memorial Committee discussion, okay? So I see Steve, I don't see him, but I see his name. You said Sarah's here too?
Yep, just bringing her on.
Okay.
Steve, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can. You hear good. You hear well. You sound
Good.
well. You sound good. One of those. All right, Sarah's here too. So I'll just introduce this topic and turn it over to Steve and Sarah. So Steve, a former resident, a Vietnam veteran, reached out to me to discuss Hubbardson not having a Vietnam memorial. And he wanted to talk about maybe fixing that or bringing one on board. So I met with Steve a couple times, and we also brought in Sarah, our VSO, to talk about what that might look like if we were to recommend one or to place one in Hubbardson. So I'm going to let Steve talk about his reason for bringing this forward, and then Sarah, I'll put up the notes you sent me and talk about how we might get this done. So go ahead, Steve.
Okay, yeah, thank you for inviting me to this. I would like to see one. For one thing, I think Hubbardston is one of the few towns that does not have a memorial for Vietnam veterans. And the other thing, there were a lot of us at that time period, and there were numerous brothers and sisters involved that served during that time. I just thought it was something that's way overdue, and I'd like to see it happen.
Okay, and Sarah, I'm going to call up the notes you put together from our recent meeting. If you can talk about how the Board of Selectmen might get this done if they choose to tonight. I'll put it right up on the screen for you. Take it away, Sarah. You're on mute right now.
Sorry, I've never used Zoom before, so I don't know how to unmute it. So if you can see, these notes are just what we briefly talked about at the meeting we had a couple days ago. So we're hoping to raise the $15,000 initially, but we need to set up a committee to kind of oversee the whole operation. So that'll include funding and design. The best placement, it's in, what did we say, at the common, at the town common, right? That's where we're looking at placing it.
Likely, yes. Yep.
Yeah, and so we're hoping to have the committee established by Veterans Day, November 11th this year. And then we're hoping to have it finally put in place by next Veterans Day of 2021. But the committee is going to be in charge of basically putting the whole thing together. So we were thinking it needs to consist of Hubbardston residents, veterans, members of the Historical Society, and then local organizations, the Rod and Gun Club, maybe American Legion or VFW, or, you know, anything that the committee can come up with.
So we're bringing this in front of the board for, thanks to Steve and to Sarah for, to see if this is something the board would like us to consider as a staff. And if so, maybe empowering this committee to look into this and report back by Veterans Day on what this might look like and how it can get done here in Hubbardston.
So a motion here would be appropriate then to basically voice support for what they're doing and support for them to form a committee. What was the number on the, was that 7 you said, Sarah?
Oh, on the committee, yep.
Yeah. And
That's right, Ryan? We decided on 7 with Steve
Yeah.
as the head.
yeah, no, that sounds good. And then to report back to us by Veterans Day, 11/11/20. So someone would be willing to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. That was so long, Jeff. I lost you halfway through there.
Basically, just to support the project of the.
I would like to make a motion to support the project and to get the committee of 7 going and to be able to report back to us by Veterans Day.
Well done.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and second. Is there any discussion or any questions on the part of anybody? If not, okay. Katie,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you very much.
Just like
Thank
to
you.
thank Steve for his advocacy and Sarah for her professionalism. As you know, this is something that I support and hold dear, and I believe also that it's time to put a Vietnam memorial in Hubbardston so we can honor those who've served during that terrible war. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go to 4C, I guess the Rutland Regional Dispatch regionalization discussion, and I understand that the interim town administrator of Rutland is with us. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yep, I'm going to bring him in, our Director of Dispatch, Michael Moriarty, and the former town administrator and now Mayor of Gardner, Mike Nicholson's here as well to provide some context. And then our fire chief is here. I can represent Chief Perrin. He's on vacation and asked to be allowed to be on vacation, so we granted it.
Appreciate everyone being here.
So the board asked me to bring this group in to discuss our current relationship with the RECC. In particular, wanted to talk about communication, budgeting, and the dispatch tower project. So I figured we could start with the dispatch tower. And I know, Michael, you had a presentation ready. I'd be happy to put any documents you want up or hear you give the board an update on this project.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. So roughly a couple of weeks ago, we had our engineer company come out and do a site visit and prepare the final site plans for the Hubbardston Tower, which we just received this morning around 10:30. That being said, Ryan, if you can just bring that up for me, please.
Which document, Mike?
It's going to be the one with the tower on it.
The one with the
Site plan with the like little diagram of the tower out to the right side of it.
Got it.
There we go. Yep. So this is the final site plan that was provided to us by our engineering company, and now is going to be put forward towards the Board of Selectmen as well as your planning board for final approval of the placement of the tower. Not sure if you can see it, but to the left side of the future municipal facility or senior center, whatever that may be, to the left side of it, there is a square with a partial triangle in the middle. That is the proposed site that the engineering company has laid out for us. It's roughly 209 feet, I believe, off that boundary line and 50 feet away from the other property line as well. So that's where we're at right now. This is the site plan to move forward. From here, if you guys approve the location as well as the planning board, we can move forward with clearing some trees and brush and preparing a temporary roadway for the geotechnical companies to come in and do some site borings. That report will be used to produce the overall radio structure, how big the pad's going to need to be, how deep the concrete's going to need to be into the earth, and some other factors as well. So those are the next steps moving forward, is to get your approval for the location as well as the planning boards. And if there's any zoning issues, if those need to be weighed in on, Chapel Engineering would be more than willing to come to any meetings as well to discuss any questions that you guys have in regards to the site plan as well. Those are the next steps, as well as a right-of-way easement for the property, so that the subcontractors can move in and start working. Also, Ryan, if you want to pull up the Hubbardston Tower Project Word document, just the two lists, the Town of Hubbardston and Rutland Rec. Next page, I think it is. Keep going.
Oh, these are the three I have. Let me look.
Did I?
These are the three things you sent me.
There's a couple more pages to this document, I think, if you can scroll down, please. Yeah, right there. So like I just discussed, those are the items that we need to have completed by the Town of Hubbardston, as well as I believe we did talk, Ryan, about the DPW providing their services to clear the way for the technical companies. Not sure if that's still on the table or not, but if not, we need to look at other avenues to complete that part of the project. Down on our side, my next steps, I have to work with the State 911 to change the vendors, because originally this site was proposed up on Mount Jefferson Road, and we moved it over to this site that will provide better coverage for both the police and fire department. So I have to work with them and change vendors, do some budget modifications. After that, provide Chapel with a PO for the prep work, coordinate with Ryan and the DPW if that's the route we're going to do to clear the site, and then start the geotechnical requests for quotes. From there, once we grab those geotechnical surveys, we'll then be able to start moving forward with this project with construction. Those are the main parts right now that we have to complete, as well as the RFQ, as you mentioned, Ryan, for a possible cell company to host their equipment on our tower. We need that geotechnical report to be able to produce that RFQ. So these are pretty much the steps right now that we're working on right now to move forward with our project. Most of the electronical equipment for the tower is already been purchased previously in previous years and is being stored in our IT facility downstairs. So that's not going to hold us up. Most of that equipment does have a lead time of 3 to 6 months. So luckily we already have that equipment ready to move forward with that. It's just mainly the steel, the site work, and the utilities that need to be completed for this project.
Mike, if I might be able to ask you, this is Jeff, looking at everything that has to be done and so forth, and it's been so long in terms of years already waiting for this. What's a ballpark figure on what you're showing us right now as far as when we may, in fact, get this tower?
As soon as the letters that I have provided Ryan with for the approval of the site plans, once we get that, I can't give you an estimate because we are still waiting for additional funding from the State 911 Department, who, which I already had conversations with the executive director of State 911 with Ryan, and he also ensured us that there would be some additional funding coming. So to make this tower sustain our equipment as well as a cell carrier's equipment, we have to build a bigger tower than what we originally proposed. We're going up, I believe, another 40 feet on top of what we already had, and a much larger base. With doing that, it's going to cost an additional $400,000 to $450,000 on top of what we already have. And that's been conversations that we had with Frank Posniak from the State 911 Department. He assured us that that additional funding will be coming to us on this next grant cycle for the FY21 development grant, which we should be hearing back hopefully not this month, but probably the beginning of September.
So
For
do you have
completion,
season of, like, can you narrow it down to a season of when we might see this? Like, seriously.
I'm most of the work can be done, but I'm hoping by the end of winter.
Of this winter?
Yes. Yep.
It'll be up and built.
Up and built, not completely done, but up and built.
Okay.
All the electronic and oh, go ahead.
And then after that, we have to worry about cell service, but the actual tower will be up and built, correct?
Correct. By the end of the winter time, yes. Yes.
Because that cell tower, I think a lot of people really are with, between the kids at home and the lack of just cable in general and internet and everything else. We really need that tower like 2 years ago, let alone sitting on the EDC. Like, I've been screaming about this thing forever. I want to see it done like yesterday.
Yep, I totally understand. And I'm working as hard as I can to get this completed as quick as possible as well.
All right, so you're thinking this winter.
That's what I'm hoping, yes.
I don't like to hear hoping. I want
we can run into some roadblocks, but I don't want to guarantee it. But that's where my deadline I want is the end of winter. I'm sorry, go again.
I will deal with any roadblocks you got. Let me tell you.
Okay.
I will get them. All right. And my other question was about that cell tower on the site that site plan. Because we don't have a technical building right now, that's not going to impede any build, even having a bigger pad, correct? That we may need to build later at some point, eventually.
You mean for the cell company?
No, for that building, that land someday may hold the actual a municipal building of some sort. We don't know what. We'll see when we get there. What I'm saying is making the pad a little bit bigger will not impede any building structures later on down the road if we ever get there as a town.
No, I don't believe so. Just by looking at the site plan that Chapel did and your and the original site plan that Cardinal did, it appears well enough away from the original building that was proposed there. I'm not sure how big that lot goes back, but there's still plenty of land there for another building. And we would already have the utilities coming into that area for that building as well, which I think we did talk to Ryan and the police and fire chief. We're gonna have a large generator there to support our cell communication tower, which we're gonna allow the building to piggyback off of down the line whenever that building does come to fruition.
All right.
Can I open this up to anyone else who's presently here? Mr. Monaco, Mr. Nicholson, if you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Monaco, the Rutland Police Chief and temporarily acting TA. I'm very new to this process with the tower, but I want to let you know that I'm throwing 100% support behind Mike, and I want to see this get done just as much as you do. I've been talking to Chief Parent about it, and I'm on board to make it happen. So Mike has some action items for this tonight. If you want to sign off on that site plan, approve the location, and then also I believe he sent the document regarding easement and right of way to the site. So if the board could vote on those and sign off on those, that's one step closer we can get. And I'm going to work very closely with Mike to make sure everything else happens. This gets going.
Okay.
Everything that the chief said is what I would agree with. Once those documents are signed, that should move the project right along from what I remember from dealing with it when I was there. Thank you.
So we should have, and before the board votes, we should have the ability to sign all of those documents by middle of next week. So if everything is signed and ready to go, then whatever is needed from the town of Hubbardston to get done, if you let us know, we will get it done as soon as possible, given the support for this. But it's my understanding that if we do sign those documents, then it turns back over to our engineers and project manager to get this completed.
Correct.
And do they have the ability to provide us with updates so I can stop getting yelled at by my board?
Yes, I did mention that briefly to Mark this afternoon when after he sent these documents, we had a conversation. I did relay that to him as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff.
So is there anything else you would like us to deal with in terms of this, or leave it as it is right now?
For the tower, if the board would vote to support the placement as shown on the materials
The site,
presented tonight,
to accept the site as presented?
and to empower me to work on the easements. I believe since we own the land that we don't need to give easements, but I will make sure that legal signs off on that as well.
Okay. Pat or Katie, can you make the motion?
All right, yeah, I'll make a motion to give Ryan the power to figure out the easements and to do the support and full support of making this happen and moving forward.
Well, I have to also to accept the site. for
Oh,
the-
sorry, accept the site plan. I apologize. Accept the site plans that were given in this presentation.
I'll second that, Jeff.
All right, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, or anyone need any questions? Favor, Katie?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And me, yes. Okay.
Heard it. Winter, December.
Katie, I've been dealing with this for 5 years.
I know. Trust me, I have too. I just haven't been sitting on this board. I was sitting on other boards dealing with it.
That's when I first met Mike.
Yeah.
We were in a committee then. So. All right, anything else, Ryan, for these gentlemen, or?
Yes, so the board and the finance committee asked me to look at the regionalization of the RRECC, specifically for the ability to Hubbardston to have more input on the budget process. So in terms of the budget, in my working with the Rutland Town Accountant and looking at our finances and everything, I provided you with an overview of FY17 to FY19, which indicated that the department has overrun budgets on the personnel side and the building side for those 3 years, and then FY20 again, which hasn't impacted us financially directly, but does concern me in terms of liability if we continue to go over budget in those areas. Also, we have, in my opinion, zero input into the budget process. So it becomes a situation where we are assessed a budget amount with no input on personnel costs, wage and authorization plans, or structure, which comes back. And the reason why I'm bringing this to the board is when you ask me why the assessments increase, I can't tell you. I can't answer the questions, except for that I do know that Rutland Regional provides us with exceptional service, that our public safety departments believe that this is the best district for us in terms of capital and the professionalism of our dispatchers. So I'm looking to see if the board has any questions that Mike or others can answer. And then also to look for the board to see if we can support putting together a task force to formally regionalize this district so it can have a little bit more of a regional feel. And talking to the RRECC staff, I believe that they support that too. Of course, I'll let them speak for themselves.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can speak to some of those.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is something that Rutland has been trying to do for quite some time, is to establish a district so that the member towns have a greater say in the crafting and operations of the Rutland Regional Dispatch Center. This has been brought up several times before. The last time it was brought up, 3 of the 5 towns were in favor, with Barry and Ocam having some opposition to it. There has been some turnover in some of the seats for those that were initially opposed to this proposal. So it is something that while I was still in Rutland, we were looking to push forward to continue. And in speaking with Acting Administrator Monaco, we have also put together a note for the new town administrator to try to continue that process. The application period for the town administrator position closed on Friday. We expect that the board will start to review the application material sometime next week. So we're hoping by the end of the month to early September, we'll have someone in that position over in Rutland. But in going toward a district model, it actually legally requires us to establish 3 boards of oversight over the dispatch center. A public safety board that would be comprised of all of the area fire and police chiefs, a finance board that is composed of members of a representative of each member town's finance committee who oversee the creation of the center's budget on behalf of their respective towns, and then an administrative board that oversees the, kind of acts as a board of directors over a private sector company, and that would be made of the town administrators or representatives of the select boards of the different member towns. This really does help alleviate a lot of the concerns that our member towns have in terms of not having any oversight. And personally, I get it, and I know that Rutland does get it too, because we deal with a similar situation with our school district with Wachusett. And it's something that we talk about every year. So when we get these conversations from our member towns for the dispatch, we understand it. It's something we'd like to see happen. It has to be, per the state regulations, all 5 towns have to agree on that. In terms of the overrun budgets, I did review the materials that our accountant did give to Ryan. The reason for those overages, every year for the past 3 years, the grant reimbursement from the Commonwealth has come in after the fiscal year's close date. So what has traditionally been done is Rutland will eat that overage in our free cash assessment, and then when the grant reimbursement comes in, it washes out in the end the next year. Is that how it should be operating? By no means. That we've been talking to Director Pozniak and State 911 to try to see if we can get that grant reimbursement schedule more in line with our fiscal year schedule. Because if you do look at that and you see, oh, that's $80,000 over that line, what's going on there? It raises all questions. I almost had a heart attack when I saw it my first year. But what it is the reimbursement comes in late and it kind of repays itself that way. We've never gone over the budget that was initially presented to Rutland's Finance Committee. Again, we'd like to be able to have it so that every town's finance committees and select boards have a say in it. Just the way that that oversight is there. With the fact that we currently are operating with a regional center that's made up of solely Rutland employees. So legally, we can't negotiate together. Legally, we cannot do certain functions together that really, as a regional center, we should be working cohesively as a one-member district unit together. And that's certainly a goal. I know Director Moriarty and the police chief both agree with me, as does Rutland's entire board. That's just something there because, again, while this overages are a result of grant reimbursements coming in late, if there ever actually was a chance where the budget did go over, that only hits Rutland with the way that it is a Rutland department. So it's something that does help on the accountability and on the liability side for Rutland just as much as it is our other member towns, and any support that we can get in setting up this task force that Ryan has proposed would be fantastic.
I might ask you, Mike, the oversight, the 3 oversight committees that you were mentioning, was this the ideal, or was this something that is actually going to be put to try to be put forward?
This is something that we'd like to put forward. In fact, it's how regional centers are designed when they are their own district per the state regulations.
Now, is that something that could be acted on, for example, now reaching out to the 5 towns to get representatives to talk about it and see what their interest is? Or do we have to wait for everything else to fall in place before you can go ahead with that?
I certainly don't see a reason why a type of situation like that can't be put together. The only issue is that legally could only be advisory in nature because it's not a signed intermunicipal agreement for a district. The IMA that we have is just for regional services, and that's where we run into that fact. I certainly can sit, when the new town administrator is hired, I can certainly sit down with them and mention that it may be good practice to start working towards that type of a model. But again, it would legally only be advisory in nature at that point.
Because it seems to me that at least one of our complaints has always been, we're just not getting, the information is not trickling down, if you will, from Rutland to Hubbardston, and I don't know if some of the other towns are having the same problem, but that's what's frustrating when, as Ryan was saying, when we ask a question and he says, I really don't know, it just doesn't seem to be the way it should be operating, understanding that, yes, it's a Rutland department, but we're all affected by it.
Absolutely. I completely understand.
Yeah, because I want to be able, these numbers that I'm looking at are, in my eyes, kind of troubling on the amount that they are increasing, especially where we just added Warren not too long ago, and we're already projected to be it's going to cost us town more than before we even added Warren. And Warren was supposed to help kind of take some of the money off our plate and everybody's plate to make it a little bit more cost effective for all, but it's only been 2 years and now it's more expensive than before Warren was there. So I'm very troubled by these numbers that I'm seeing on this. And I would like to know a little bit more about where this is all going and why and all kinds of things. But again, our hands are tied because we're not in charge. And I don't think one town should be in charge of everybody else's mess. We should all be in this together. This is all of our mess. We're all stuck here. So I think we really need to work together and speed that up a little bit faster to hopefully get all on the same game page so we can make this mess a little better.
Couldn't agree more.
And Katie, I do have a bunch of presentations, documentations documentation, and I do still have the letters of support regarding the whole district model. I can send that all back out again. Like I spent time a couple of years ago going around, the town of Hubbardston, Rutland, both signed those letters of support, and I did get opposition from Ocam and Barry, strong opposition. So I'm more than welcome to go back out to both those communities again and express everybody's interest in this, as well as provide them as much documentation as possible. This is one of the biggest projects that I want to get done, because I believe everyone should have a say on how the Rutland Regional Dispatch Center moves forward.
I think, oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, I was just going to ask Mike, what, because I don't remember, because it's been about 4 or 5 years, what was the basic objection?
If I remember correctly, OCAM, I believe, didn't have the personnel to supply to the 3 boards. Barry, there was I believe 2 of the members had issues. One of them had issues with the whole state legislation for the district. And if I can remember correctly, the other one just was a total no in regards to it. One of the members was for it, but I had 2 that were opposed to the whole district model. But I believe one of those members is gone at this point, so I can retry with Barry and see if we can move forward there. And as well as OCAM, I know there's some new members there as well, so probably a good time to start moving forward.
Yes, definitely, please.
From my side, something for the board to consider. So I don't fully agree that we don't have an expense side budget problem here. So we are told that we have a budget for personnel, and I'm unclear on what the building formula is that we pay for in Rutland, but both sides are exceeding the budget numbers. So there has to be a reason for that. Whether the grants are reimbursing it or not, if they don't one year, then there's either a big whack to Rutland, which we don't want to see for a partner town, or we get reassessed, which is a huge liability for us since we have very limited resources. Those need to be addressed sooner than a district model. And one of the symptoms of not having a district model is we don't have any say on how wages are constructed, how manning is constructed, and how that's compared to our public safety departments, which are hammering me because they believe, and I won't speak for them directly, and I know we have one here, but that the wage agreements that are being made are not in line with member communities, which is causing angst between the departments. And when you couple that with decisions about staffing and manning, we are telling our police and fire that they can't have certain staffing and manning while paying an assessment that allows for that. So these are the discussions that need to be had district-wide. And I would be happy to lead, support, or help create a task force that can go to each one of the communities and explain this, because I'm not sure, and it's not a disparaging thing, but part-time board members or others can understand the financial implications and liabilities of placing this all on Rutland's accounting system. And if they don't do that right, what happens to all of us? So I'm not suggesting that anything's being done wrong, but it creates a situation where there's a tremendous amount of financial liability and almost no oversight.
I think we should go ahead with something like that. And as far as my own opinion of this, at least looking into it, Ryan, as you're proposing, I, for one, would be in favor of that. Is Bob Hayes with us? Because I don't, does he have anything he might want to add or anything?
I gotta bring in his phone if he wants to talk.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Chief.
Yes.
Hi. No, I agree with everything that Katie and Ryan said. About the wages and stuff. I mean, historically, Hubbardston is kind of known for being on the lower side of wages. And when you have, the rec dispatchers, which I agree everybody probably here is underpaid in some degree, but when new dispatcher's coming in at $25, $26 an hour, and a firefighter, paramedics coming in 21 in Hubbardston, and they see that, you know, they question things. And I know that the union president here, I mean, when they go into contract talks in another year or so, that'll be one of those things like, you know, we're the ones out in the field, and it should reflect that. And, you know, like I said, Hubbardston, we don't have a lot of money, and things are budgeted, you know, pretty tightly. And when you see, like, what Katie was saying, Warren came in and was supposed to save us money, and then a year later, 2 years later, we're right back, actually more, from where we were 2 fiscal years ago. If the budget there keeps growing, that just means less money for the town of Hubbardston to go to public safety. And the way the budget's growing for the rec, I have those same concerns. Is it going to get to a point where it's so expensive that it's going to start taking away from the other services in town?
Any comments? Well, I'm doubling back then. I'm saying another reason I think I'd like to at least have us pursue looking into this task force, just for that, for all the above reasons, as well as what Bob has just offered. How do you feel, or Katie, about
I
that?
would say Mike Nicholson, not Mike Moriarty, who quit on us to go to Gardner. What a mean thing to do. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
He was trying to put together through the Rutland Board of Selectmen, a full board meeting, right? So all the boards of selectmen from 5 towns, which to me was a great idea, but one that'll never get done. So I'm hoping, and he did try to tell his board, you know, that we should try and pare it down so that we can have a working group. But my suggestion would be 1 board member from each community to start, and then that committee reports back to all the boards, and maybe we can come to some type of consensus. So we have what we want, which is great services from our dispatch that are supported, but that match the members' needs, right? So I want the rec to worry about dispatch and not the administrative stuff that's being put on Mike's plate because of the disparities in the communities. So I'm hoping the board can see from these conversations that there is a need to go out and sell this and to fix this problem. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming back every year.
I agree.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please. Yep.
I agree with Ryan. The Warren Board of Selectmen actually reached out to us, seeing if we could get a full, all-member, every member select board meeting for all 5 towns. And Ryan and I kind of had the same reaction to it, but we do what we're told. And it went as we thought it was going to go. I think having 1 representative per member town there would be helpful. 1, with just the posting requirements alone, but 2, you just are able to have more of an in-depth conversation with a closer group like that. I think it'd be good. I think at least from Rutland's side, a vote to re-show your support toward working toward a district model, I feel would be helpful in the long run, because that vote was taken 3 years ago by the different select boards. So renewing that would help show support so we get there. But in the interim, I think at least having that dialogue and conversation would be helpful.
Excuse me, that vote you're talking about for us or for Rutland to reaffirm?
For all of us. I think any town would just, because now we have Warren, we have other towns that are interested in this. I think just having a renewal of those votes to show that this is something that we are still interested, 1, not only supports our cause with the state, but also helps send a message to our other towns to show that this is really something we should be working toward. But if you'll, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
On this board that you are suggesting with like 1 selectman from each town, would it just be the selectmen, or would the town administrators be part of it?
I think the town administrator should be part of it, just because we're the ones who are dealing with the financials on a day-to-day basis.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
No, I think, I mean, it would be a meeting of the select boards, but I absolutely think the town administrator should be available. I know the dispatch center also already does pre-COVID pandemic. They call them stakeholder meetings, where they would meet with all of the police and fire chiefs from the different member towns. The pandemic kind of put a pause on that this year just because it's our public safety personnel that are dealing with the pandemic. So it was having a hard time trying to schedule that. But I think working towards that would be an excellent move. What I was going to say, if you'll please excuse me, I do have to get to a city council meeting in Gardner. But if you have any questions, I'm in contact with both Director Moriarty and Chief Monaco at any time. If there's anything way I can help with these discussions, always please feel free to let me know. And thank you for having me with you tonight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anything further, Ryan or Mr. Monaco, or anything? You have any feelings about what we've been talking about?
How do we want to move forward with setting up this task force?
So if the board's willing to vote their support for investigating the district model and for sending their concerns, some of the symptoms of not having a district, in a letter to the other boards, and then we can suggest the construction of one board member and one chief executive, because not every town has a TA. I think that would go a long way, and we can help set that up. We just need someone to go first, so I'm suggesting it be us.
Okay, Katie and Pat, if you're in favor, would you make a motion to what Ryan was just saying?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for Ryan to, would it be you, Ryan, putting this letter forth? Yeah, right?
It would be from the Board of Selectmen.
From the board, but yeah, to get the letter going, to start getting this game going, and it would go to Rutland, correct?
To the Rutland board, essentially, correct, Ryan? The letter would go on board?
CCing all the others to speed it up.
To speed it up and hopefully get a district model of some sort working. Was that close enough? I'm so awesome at this, I can tell you.
Ryan, do we need clarification on that?
Yeah.
She's my boss. I don't know how to tell her yes.
I'm asking.
Close enough.
You in favor or not?
Yeah, no, I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and second to go ahead and send out a feeler about putting together a task force and giving Ryan the lead on this. So any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Katie?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And me, yes. So I guess we're all set then. Mike and Nick, thank you very much for your time tonight. And we'll obviously be in touch.
Okay. Thank you for having us.
And Chief Hayes, thank you for coming in tonight.
And Bob, yeah, sorry, I was looking at faces, but Bob, thanks for being there. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Night.
Have a good night. Okay, moving on. Signed presidential election warrant. Ryan?
Okay, this one's a little simpler. Let me just call it up for you, please. So you're used to doing this. The town clerk has put forward to you a warrant for the upcoming primary election in September. I've placed that ballot here. What is required is a vote for your approval, and then these have to be hand signed. So if you vote yes, then Bobby would coordinate you coming in to hand sign, as we've had to do onesies and twosies documents during this time.
All right. A motion to accept the
Election warrant. I'll
as
make the
presented.
motion. I'll make the motion to sign the presidential primary election warrant.
Okay. Katie?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay, any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor? Katie?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And me, yes. So basically, Ryan, when there's ready to be signed. We just have to be able to get into the building, right, to do it?
Yep, starting tomorrow morning. Bobby, what time tomorrow morning?
I'm there at 8.
Anytime after 8?
I
Okay,
have ready to be signed.
You get to see me too, and I have cucumbers, so it's a great visit to town hall.
Totally random.
I'm a gardener. What do you want from me?
okay, then moving on to item 5, old business, FY 2021 budget discussions.
Yeah,
Right.
so I have some good news for once, so that's good. Just calling it up so you can see it. So I put a document in your folder. So on the bad news is the state is not going to pass a budget until probably Christmas time. But they have sent a letter through the Department of Local Services that the state, as of now, is committed to level funding state aid for municipalities and unrestricted government state aid, and for Chapter 70 for schools, which helps us on the school assessment side. So with the budget still being very fluid, the things we don't know are the school assessments from Monty Tech and Quabbin Regional, which are, I'd say, heavily weighted and still in the air based off the school reopening plans, and nobody envies them for their decisions right now. And there will be budget implications for whatever decisions they make in terms of the models they choose. The state budget uncertainty just cleared up quite a bit for us, with state aid being pretty much the only thing we draw from them besides grant monies, and the transportation bill is already passed, so that's our Chapter 90 money. So it looks like we're going to get most of the state money that we normally get, at least for FY21. And then the unknown impact of COVID on local revenue, I would say we won't know that until we know what happens with COVID in the fall. So everybody's discussing what happens with COVID and praying that we have some type of resolution in terms of vaccine or treatment, or that disease mitigates itself to the point where we can move closer to the new normal. But given some of the indications that the fall might bring back some of the concerns we had in the spring, certainly an impact on local revenue.
So in terms of, excuse me, Ryan, in terms of our budget, as what has been budgeted, was it or something that you sent us that basically, based on projections, it didn't look like it would affect us detrimentally too much, so we had some wiggle room there?
Correct. So based off the state saying they would level fund unrestricted government free state aid, there's a surplus in the FY21 budget as passed at town meeting of about $75,000. So this is normal, right? We estimate the budget at town meeting. We are conservative, and we do that on purpose, because if it went the other way, we would have a big problem. So I'll show you those numbers here. Just gonna move your faces out of the way. Here we go. Okay, so we were very conservative based off of every recommendation from every municipality. They were all being conservative with our state aid number. So this projected state aid of $535,488 was reduced by about $75,000, because all indications said that we should budget based off a number similar to the Great Recession, which is the numbers that we received then would have been about a 75,000 reduction. So this number is what we got 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So with that number being level funded, it's this number here, which is previous year's number, will translate over here to be about $609,000, which gives us that surplus. Now, if you remember, we offset the budget this year by adding $50,000 in free cash. So we have that problem. And we don't know the impact of the school assessment. We did pass a number based off conversations that the school had about reducing their assessment by the $1 million that they saved in order to pass those savings from FY20 into 21. So a lot of numbers, but essentially what we're looking at is good news in that our state aid came in higher than we thought, level funded from last year, which creates some flexibility to either deal with school assessments in combination with the CARES Act money that we have, or to offset that free cash usage which would be trying to get back down to last year's free cash usage number, which would be about 100,000 instead of the 150. And then there's other changes that need to be made to the budget because they're all estimates. So we could reduce some of the estimates or increase some of the spending. And those I'll bring to you at a future meeting. Very little things like restoring money to the Slade building, which is in constant need of repair, et cetera, which are just small amounts, but would cut into that $75,000 surplus. So I know I said a lot there. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay, so we prepared for best case, worst case, and we're getting a little bit better than average case, I guess. So it's good. It's a good news. And there's still some more shoes to drop, but eventually we'll get the budget to where it needs to be. I have some confidence. Okay, another thing I want you to look at is, am I still sharing my screen? No. Get like 100 windows up. All right, CARES Act. Okay, so you've seen this before. So this is right now what we are projecting for CARES Act usage. So we were apportioned about $450,000 to cover COVID-related expenses in FY20 and FY21. So we are continuing to take advantage of that money where we can in conservative ways, as the board said, to make sure that we would be reimbursed. So some items that you heard tonight, just want to show you where they fall. We're continuing to work on the election, which is going to be a big deal in a couple months. Police and fire are doing extra shifts to make sure that we are protecting our staff and the residents. Money's built in for the school assessment, and that's to cover any increases that are COVID related, which is a viable use of the CARES Act and a good use of the CARES Act, and could be coupled with any additional money from the state or the federal government that they are using to try and get schools to reopen. And then lastly, the tent and outdoor space for the seniors. We have secured this tent that we're talking about, and that will be funded by the CARES Act. So I'm just showing you that these things we're doing to mitigate COVID and expand our services are being paid for the way that it was intended through federal resources and state resources. And we are still operating within our own operating budget that is not impacted by COVID, which is important for you to know. And then lastly, this is what I sent to the CIPC, yourselves, and the Finance Committee. So based off of a possible reduction in our free cash usage and the fact that we didn't spend any money on capital and reserve some money for next year, we should be able to fund a version of the capital plan at a fall town meeting. So changes to that capital plan that I'm proposing, continuing with the hot box and the dump truck, the items for the cemetery, the emergency response truck for the police chief was paid for by the Holden Hospital account, so that is off the plan. Repairing the library foundation, we're not going to set aside any money for that until the study is done, which was funded at town meeting. This vehicle camera.
Excuse me for interrupting. Do you have that page up? Because I don't see it on screen, or are you just telling us this now?
I'm showing you a spreadsheet. Can you not see it?
No, I'm still looking at the outdoor space and tent figure, emergency management.
Got it.
Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Is this better?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So this was the proposed plan. Same recommendations, except for the fire chief's truck, which has been purchased for the Holden Hospital account, is coming off the capital plan, is already paid. Library fund the study. So when the study tells us what we need to spend in terms of repairing the foundation, we'll put that back on the capital plan, but I don't expect to have that in time for this year. And then police, we'd set aside $10,000 for this year and $5,000 for next year. This is an automatic storage of desk cam footage. So when they come in, this would be uploaded to a server immediately. It would save on man hours and make sure that we're covered liability wise. Given the state of the world with policing, I feel like this should be funded now and as soon as possible. I'm adding $10,000 for the police department ceiling, which I told you needed repair. So we were able to start the emergency repair on Monday and cover that with a FinCom reserve transfer. But the rest of it, to make sure that the rest of it's secure and doesn't fall down, would require another $10,000. So I'm recommending we add that to the plan. The bandstand roof, which I know the board talked about as part of their goals. We already funded the hardware and software, and then we still need to pave the Slade building if that's your desire. So of the 284 that we had remaining, there would be 156 requested in this capital plan, leaving you a reserve of 127,000 in free cash, which I think is enough to, with the money that we didn't expend this year, to go into next year and fund our capital and be resilient enough to bounce back to most things that we're going to face. So I will be recommending, if there's no change to the world, that the board fund a modified version of the capital plan at a fall town meeting to be set once we know the school assessments.
Question, just basically for me, on the CARES Act, is that open-ended? That doesn't have an expiration date. Is that basically with us as long as the COVID crisis exists?
So it's a good question. So it is approved through December 31st. So we were supposed to project out to then, and it was allocated based off of that date. My professional opinion is if mitigation is needed past December 31st, there would be another round of CARES Act or another allocation. So I do think if the world continues to be the way it is, that there'll be some type of adjustment to the CARES Act that will continue to support municipalities and businesses who are working to mitigate the disease. Because that's the only way that we can stay open, in my opinion, is if we have this assistance.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ryan on everything he's just gone through?
Did we have a estimate time for a fall town meeting yet, or no?
So without the school number,
yeah,
it's useless. So we're waiting for the school committee to adjust their assessment based off of the school reopening plan and their reaction to the town meeting votes. So we should get a new number from them, I'm guessing, right after the school year starts. So I'm projecting asking the board to put a fall town meeting in place for early, late October.
Oh, okay. So would that be an indoor meeting? Would it be an
Tell
out?
me. I wish I knew.
Well, because if you go late enough in fall, the mosquitoes will be dead because we'll have a frost, but we'll have to wear, like, you know, jackets and so, and it'll be dark, so you're gonna have to buy lighting.
There are towns that did indoor town meetings successfully. I'm not saying that that's necessarily what we would do, and of course the Board of Health would weigh in on that, but I think we can handle either.
Okay.
We can also have a tent with heaters. I mean, we can be creative, so. Not a closed-in tent, but an open-door tent that.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, the center school gym, to me, is large enough for the spacing of the chairs, et cetera, you know, as opposed to us using 1/3 of the gym, we might have to be using the entire gym to spread out the chairs, but I think it's reasonable to think that we might be able to have it in there. I'm just throwing it out.
It sounds a little cheerleader-ish, but given the resilience of our staff and our community, we're going to get it done either way.
Okay, all right. So, all right, to move ahead to your.
Unless there's any questions, of course, the budget's going to be an ongoing thing as it always is. And then as soon as we finish this, we're going to pivot right into 22. So send me your questions and concerns, digest the information. I'd be happy to discuss it more. We got big decisions coming and I want to make sure everyone's fully informed.
Okay, so we'll move ahead to the town administrator report.
There is some redundancy, so I will be brief. Discuss the COVID-19 update, and of course we have our red banner update on the town website. In terms of our department report, we completed a full audit of employee accruals, and we are compliant heading into FY21. This was a big goal. It doesn't sound like a lot to most, but knowing where we are at with our accruals is important, and we have a good handle on it now. it wasn't always that way. So I feel very good about where we are in terms of HR compliance. I've revised our HR policies and training plan. I'll be putting that to the staff for their question and comment, and then bringing it to you for final approval. So this is the HR manual I've been talking about for some time now that got delayed because of COVID. And then we'll be working on training to make sure that we're compliant there as well, in terms of conflict of interest and sexual harassment and other important required trainings that we need to make sure that all employees have received, that it's correct as advised by our HR advisors and is fully compliant. In terms of financial management, I gave you an update on the state aid number. That is really good. We'll be moving towards finalizing by August 15th all of our numbers to start our annual audit, so we can inform the 21 budget process. Paving continues on Route 68 and Flag Road. These are the top coats that'll be going on for the next week or two. And then we procured a contractor to fix the police department ceiling. We believe we got a good price. We called a few people. The repair needed to get done, and it's going to be done correctly. We've involved our building department and inspectors to make sure that our police department is safe and fixed. And the finance committee will be voting on a transfer to make sure that it doesn't impact the 21 budget. Okay. And lastly, in terms of employee recognition, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize Claudia and the Council on Aging volunteers for their work with the Senior Center reopening plan. So this is a part-time employee with volunteers who were looking out for the best interests of their seniors and trying very hard to put together what most communities have a staff of 2, 3, 10 people to do, who are trained in bureaucracy and the other things that are needed. So they put together a very comprehensive plan to make sure their seniors were safe, and then advocated for its approval with the Board of Health. They have been very compliant to make sure that that everybody's safe, but that also people recognize that having seniors in their homes for the spring and the summer and potentially the fall and the winter can also increase health problems and concerns. We need to make sure that if we can safely, that we provide services to our seniors. So this type of dedicated and creative thinking is a great example of how municipal services are continuing to adapt during this environment. And I very much appreciate the adaptability of Claudia and her team to think outside the box and make sure that this happens. So we'll be implementing it fully, making sure it's safe. And I want to make sure everybody knows the hard work that they did.
Claudia and the Council on the Aging volunteers, they've always gone above and beyond when anything they've tackled in regards to helping themselves out and helping the town out. So we appreciate it. Any questions or comments from the board on the TA report? Okay. We'll move to item 7. The policies to review. I just remind Pat and Katie at the last meeting, the policies of the work-related travel, public records requests, and records management. Pointed out that at that time that Ryan was saying we don't need these as a standing policy, that this is something that the town administrator can handle these directly. So these are one of the things that I'm going to have to do tonight in dealing with those. But I'll turn it over to Ryan to discuss the rest of it together.
Okay, so the board in the last year has committed to reviewing all the policies and trying to clean up like all the departments are doing. So this is part of that effort. And to make it as clear as possible for the board, we're going to do what we're calling a first read and a second read. So the first read, we're going to bring you drafts and comments about policies, allow you to digest it. And then the second read, we're looking for, in anticipation of a second read, we're looking for your comments so that we can put a final draft in front of you and potentially vote on it. So in terms of second reads tonight, the work-related travel, we don't have a ton of work-related travel. I'm guessing at some point, the Board of Selectmen was looking for some oversight into people traveling to conferences, et cetera. We don't have that very much, but when we do, it's clearly outlined in our very transparent, open checkbook, end of the month budget reports that we put online, and also is enforceable through me by the board. So it just seems like a policy that's not needed. You should be telling me to do my job, and I'll do that. And if you don't like what you see in terms of the reports, then you can bring action through me. So the policy just seems to be redundant. In terms of records management and public records requests, these are state laws, and these policies are just saying follow the state law. So I think it's redundant to continue to carry them as a standalone policy. So in an effort to clean up policy books and make it as efficient as possible, I'm recommending that you rescind these policies and revert to standing policies in the HR guide and the state.
So ask member of the board to make that motion to rescind the three policies that he was talking about: the work-related travel, public records request, and records management as standing alone policies.
All right, I will make that motion to rescind the work-related, the public records request, and records management policies as standalone policies and revert them to either state or HR.
And letting the administrator deal with them directly.
And letting Ryan deal, or excuse me, administrator deal with them correctly.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion on that? Is that, Ryan, the way it's worded and everything?
Yep, that's great.
Okay, Katie?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Me? Yes. Okay.
Okay, and then the new policy. So just going to show you what we're thinking, and then you can send me your questions and comments before the next meeting, and we'll bring this back for a second read with the draft. So I'm going to share this with you. Plowing of private ways. So this is something that we've done. We adopted state law in order to do this, and we continue to do this as part of our annual budget process. So this is the policy as it exists currently, which I have no issue with just keeping it as it is. It is a little wordy, and it seems to be tailored specifically to a certain time in Hubbardston. Another version that I had Travis and I looked at these policies to see if there could be any recommendations to the board. One thing that we did suggest, looking at Athol's policy, which is just a little bit more modern and clean, these two provisions here at the bottom, number 5 and number 6, would be useful in terms of policy if we are going to update it. One of them being that the road needs to be capable of being plowed. This helps protect the town from having to do repair work on private roads or any of those considerations that are made. It doesn't mean we won't plow it or work with the community. It just means that it's a policy that we ask that there be additional maintenance done in order to protect our equipment. And then second, that the eligible roads should be submitted each year to the highway superintendent by September 1st. This just allows us to go out to bid and make sure that we have everything lined up for the winter season in a reasonable amount of time.
And
Travis said these would be nice to haves. But right now we are working, as best we can within the current policy.
And Ryan, item 5 there, I am assuming that means that the onus of making certain that the road is plowable falls on the residents of that road.
Yes, and we have great compliance with our community as it exists now. We send letters and express any concerns about plowing, and the residents are great. They fix them. We just want to make sure that if we give a recommendation to you in terms of policy, we're talking about long-term, what the policy should look like. And it probably should include something like that if you wanted to redo it. So that is the current policy for you to read, and some suggested additions to the policy. You can certainly bring any policy you want forth. We're just looking for feedback on that. This is just part of your first read.
Okay. Any questions, Pat or Katie, or any comments?
No.
And there's nothing further we have to do tonight on that anyway, right?
Nope, just send me your concerns and I will draft either the existing policy or some type of modified policy for you to review at your next meeting.
Fine, thank you. Let's move to item 8. We've already done part of it, the appointment, but there also was a resignation. Kathy Hansgate, Agricultural Commission. So we would need a motion to accept the resignation, waiving the notification period.
All right, I will make a motion to accept the resignation of Kathy Hansgate for the agricultural committee, or what committee?
Waiving the notification period.
Yeah, waiving the notification period. I'm getting there, Jeff. I'm getting there.
Hey, I'm still learning, okay?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Katie?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Me? Yes.
We'll send Kathy a letter on behalf of the board, thanking her for her service. She's still on the Board of Health and heavily involved in town, but needed to take down her workload. So we appreciate her service to the Agricultural Commission.
Okay. Item 9 is wage authorization for the now newly appointed part-time police officer, Michael Pierce. So we would need a motion again to accept the wage authorization, also waiving the notification period.
I'll make a motion to, shoot, hold on. Yeah, I screwed that up. I lost my spot. I was reading it too. Notificate, no, I don't know. Michael Pierce, right?
This is, yeah, wage. I'll go, let me give it to you again, okay?
Yeah.
Wage authorization for Michael Pierce, the part-time police officer. Motion to accept it, waiving the notification period.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept the wage authorization for Michael Pierce. Waiving the time period,
Notification.
the notification period. I have kids in the background. My whole life is falling apart. I can't even see this. It's like a disaster over here. Sorry. It's so distracting. All right, did I get the second one right? No.
Yeah, you did. Pat,
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion? Okay, Katie,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
me, yes. Thank you.
Just for the public, and because we have a new member, I'll take the opportunity. The reason why appointments are done that way for employees is by charter. I appoint most of the employees in town. The board has a few that they appoint, to include the police chief and the fire chief, and then the library trustees appoint library workers. So when I appoint someone, I need to notify the board within a certain amount of days. I usually notify you faster, and what you're doing is waiving that notification so we can start employing the person. So that's what that is. So we need to tell you by law, by charter, and then you need to tell me if you have an issue with it, or I guess fire me before the appointment period, or waive the appointment time frame. So that's what we're doing with that vote.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, moving to the minutes, I already looked ahead at these, so I could tell you, Pat and Katie, the three of us were there at that meeting, so we can have a motion to accept the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting for July 27th, 2020.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of July 27th. Right?
2020.
2020.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded to accept the Board of Selectmen minutes for July 27th, 2020. Any further discussion? All in favor, Katie?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Me? Yes. I'm assuming there's no committee updates, because that's usually some, or do you have anything other than what Dan would normally be doing? Matt is not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Nothing that I'm aware of. Anything?
One, Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
looking to see if the board will appoint you as the signatory in my place, because I will be leaving for annual training and might not be able to sign the payroll and warrant.
okay. I'd be happy to do that. I've done that for the last couple of years. I'd be happy to do it if the board will see fit.
I'll make that motion as Ryan stated.
I'll second it.
Okay. How do you want this worded, Ryan?
You would be appointed as a signatory for approval of payroll and warrant.
Okay. Pat and Katie, you okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Katie,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
and yes for me.
And just to remind the board, I will be at lovely Fort Drum from August 9th to August 23rd. I do have my cell phone and can answer calls. And definitely if you text me, I can get back to you. But the town will be in the very capable hands of Chief Hayes, Chief Perrin for public safety, and in terms of finance, Sandy. And of course, we have Jeff to sign the warrants. So give me a call if anything's needed, and I will see you when I get back.
Good luck. Don't have, you can't drum. A lot of memory.
Me too. Not good ones.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Katie? Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And me, yes. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.